As we say the prayers of our ancestors, help us, O God, to remember their faith and devotion, their joy and suffering, and make us worthy of our heritage. May the tradition we have received live in us and pass from us to generations we shall never know, enriched by the truth we have found and the good we have done. So may we fulfill our task on earth and receive our blessing. And let's read together. Eternal God, school us in your teachings, and make us loyal to your commandments. May we never consent to evil, or surrender to temptation or self-contempt. Help us to rise above selfishness, and make us responsive to the voice of conscience. Direct our every impulse to your service. Today and every day may we merit kindness and compassion in your sight, and in the sight of all who behold us. And let us know your love. We praise you, O God, for the love you daily show us. Praise be the one at whose command the world came to be. And together we praise you, our God, sovereign of the universe, worshipped by your people, lauded and glorified by those who love and serve you. In songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, sole source of the life of all worlds. Praise you, sovereign God. And we turn over the page to page 111. And please rise if you can. Let's read together. Praise be your name, eternal God, in heaven and on earth. To you, our God, God of our ancestors, let hymns and psalms be sung. To you all praise and thanks are due from now and forever. We praise you, O God. May you accept our songs of praise. Sit down. On page 136. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, maker of light and creator of darkness, author of peace and creator of all things. In your mercy you give light to the earth and all who live on it, and in your goodness you renew creation continually day by day. How manifold are your works, O God, with wisdom have you made them all. The world is full of your creation. Your handiwork proclaims your praise. The radiant stars bear witness to your glory. We praise you, O God. Avar Abba Avtanu Adonai Eloheinu, Chemla Gadola V'Teira Hamalta Aleis. Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avor Avotenu Shebatachu V'cha, V'Tlamdein Chukei Chaim, Kein Techorneinu, V'Tlamdein. V'tein B'Libeinu L'Havinu L'Haskil L'Shmor L'Ilmod L'Lamein. Ishmor v'la'asot l'kayem et kol divrei Toratecha v'yahavah. V'ha'eh eineinu b'Toratecha v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha. V'yached levaveinu li'ahavah u'li'yirah et shemecha. Ki vanu v'acharta li'yechedecha b'yahavah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'bocher v'hamor yisrokel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מספך היום על לבביך, ושילמת לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Lama antis garu, vas
עשיתם את כל מצוותיי, ייתם קדושים אלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
At the bottom of that page, you redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. Then with great joy Moses, Miriam and all Israel together sang to you this song. And oh God, open our lips that our mouths may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Eloheinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachem Elohei Lea האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, האל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים וקורא הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו יעלה. מלך עוזר השם מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, וחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל. וכלכל חיים וחסד, וחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, וחיי אמונתו לשם יפה. מי כמוך בעל גבולות, ומי דומה לך? מלך מימין וחיי ומצמיח ישועה, ואמנתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. We sanctify your name on earth as in the prophet's vision. Hosts of heaven sing your praise above. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Melocho haaretz kevodo. Kvodo malei olam. Baruch Adonai מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד לך. page 143. Those who keep the Sabbath and call it a delight taste the joy of redemption. The people who had on the seventh day delight in your goodness, for it pleased you to set this day apart, that we may cherish it above all other days, and pause to remember that the world is your creation. Together, our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel, who hallow your name, be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, and alone we worship in reverence. Together, Modim Anachnu La. Shatahu Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Leolam Va'ed. Zur Chayenu Magen Yishenu Atahu L'dor Vador. Nodeh Lecha U'nesaper Tehilatecha. Al Chayenu HaMesurim B'yadecha. Va'al Nishmotenu HaBekudot Lach. Va'al Nisecha Shebachol Yom Imanu. Va'al Niflotecha V'tovotecha. Shebachol Ein Erev V'boker V'tzohorayim. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha, V'chana. Grant peace, welfare, and blessing, grace, love, and mercy to us and to all Israel, your people. As a loving parent, bless us with the light of your presence. For by the light of your presence, eternal God, you have revealed us the law of life, a love of kindness and righteousness, blessing and mercy, life and peace. For it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. And before we say those final words, let's use this moment to remind ourselves that it's easy to forget our brethren in Ukraine, and also our brethren and all peoples in Russia as well, who suffer so greatly at this moment. Please God, may, as we start a new year, soon and in that year, may there be a sense of peace, a sense and sensible decisions made to end this terrible war. For the moment, as we approach the last words of this blessing, let us think of our people suffering so much in Ukraine. Baruch Atah Adonai, Osei HaShalom. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. Amen.
No, it's only nice.
Fortnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lovely
It's
one.
nice.
And so, the reading of the Torah on page 481. Who's going to open the ark?
So, Hannah, do you want to help?
It's all right, I can.
No, it's all right.
I'm joking.
Oh, gosh, I didn't even know where this goes. Oh, I'm happy to do a housework with lads, I'll tell you. That's a pleasure after especially this time of the year. It's
Yeah. Page 481. There is none like you, eternal one among the gods people worship. And there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting. Your reign endures from age to age.
En kamo Adonai Elohim Adonai En Masecha Malchutecha Malchut Kol Olamim Umemshatecha B'chol Orvadot Adonai Melech Adonai Malach, Adonai Yimloch le'olam haaretz, Adonai Rosh la'moitzem, Adonai Yivarech et amo b'shalom.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
share or something.
No, I'll be on my lap. Even before.
I was wondering how you were going to manage, just thinking.
That's what we want, is a nice miniatures.
Yeah, oh God.
Hard to read from.
Did I tell you about this scroll last time? Or what?
You have done, but it's worked for BT.
Oh, yeah. Come up here. I mean, this little scroll.
I'm just going to change it so we can see all the people that are on Zoom rather than just one at a time. Yeah.
This little scroll actually was written about 1910 for the Reverend Harris of the Liverpool Liverpool Hebrew congregation, the main beautiful Victorian building in Liverpool. He was the Reverend Harris. They didn't have rabbis in those days because only the chief rabbi was allowed to be a rabbi. And the Reverend Harris had this scroll written, so the story goes, to have at home for teaching the mitzvah pupils. And it is really very small, but it's perfect, absolutely perfect. We've had a scribe look at it, there's nothing wrong with it, and the parchment is very fine. The Reverend Harris, it was interesting that come the First World War, he was a conscientious objector, and he got kicked out of and lost his job because of that. But the scroll was passed down through the family, and now it belongs to our synagogue. And so I'm just going to read now from the book of Deuteronomy, a passage that the minute I start, you will probably know well because we read it on Yom Kippur morning. And it's a passage which actually liberals read, the Orthodox read other passages. It's one of those differences that we make. And I will read just the beginning, which you will know well, because it's, let me read and then we'll talk about it in a moment. So there's someone over there on Zoom going to read for us.
Yeah.
The bracha.
I just also say the screen share might be something different to what's in the scrolls because Andrew's got his own style of doing it from straight away with the translation. So just bear with us, but we could have which Linda kindly did the actual version of it. And
Blessing?
Linda, are you able to do the blessings as well? Or is your sound a bit iffy? Or Stephen, or anybody else?
Shall I do the blessings, Kevin?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Baruchu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch Adonai. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachabanu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Atem nitzavim hayom kolchem lifnei Adonai Elohechem. You stand this day, all of you, before the Eternal One, your God. Rosheichem, Shivteichem, Zikneichem, V'shotreichem, V'chol ish Yisrael. And you're standing here, your Rosheichem, the heads of your community, your tribal leaders, your elderly. And it's not elderly like me or some of the people sitting around here. It really means you're elders in the sense of an official title, and your officials. Kol ish Yisrael, all people of Israel. Tapeichem, your children, Nashleichem, your wives, Begerecha asher bekerev machanecha, and the stranger who is there in the together in the camp with you. And this is a verse I always love, and I'm still trying to find a sermon that fits for it. From the choppers of your wood and to the drawers of your waters. And I suppose really it means the very lonely, the servants, the people who are doing all the schlepping for the community. To enter in or to agree into this berit, this covenant, and this oath before the Eternal One your God. That the Eternal One your God, koreit imecha, cuts with you. Of course, that word is interesting. Koreit means to cut, and we connect it with a berit. And we know what happens with Brit Milah, that there is certainly. I'm not sure that is anything other than a coincidence.
They cut a deal, don't we?
They cut a deal. Yeah. So there you go. I've got a yard, so I've got to keep going. I shouldn't keep talking anyway.
Keep talking.
that the Eternal One your God makes with you this day. And God makes you with you this covenant that God will be your God and you will be God's people. Ka'asher diber lach, as God has already said to you. V'ka'asher nishba la'avotecha la'Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov, and that God already made with your ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. V'lo etachem nevadachem anochi koret et habrit hazot. And not only do I make this covenant with you, ve'eta Allah hazot, and this oath with you, ki et asher yeshno po imanu omeid hayom lifnei Adonai Eloheinu, because I make it with those who are standing here today, all of you before the Eternal One our God. Ve'et asher einenu po imanu hayom, and also those who are not here with us this day. And that always reminds me, of course, what the intent was. It was for future generations. But I always think it's so relevant as we say it in Shul on Yom Kippur. We're actually saying for those who've come to Shul and our members who have not, let's say they're on Zoom. I shouldn't talk because I lose my place. כי אתם ידעתם את אשר ישבנו בארץ מצרים, אשר עברנו בקרב הגויים. Now, we end it with, if you look at the Machzor, we end it traditionally with the passage that says that all of you standing here this day and those who are not here. But actually we then jump. And when you're sitting in Shul on Yom Kippur, have a look and we jump quite a bit of verses. And I'll be quite honest with you, I never looked it up to see what we've missed. And since I was one of the co-authors of the Machzor, I jolly well should have done. Because it then goes on with the whole passage. It goes on to talk about those people who maybe are not there this day because they're doing other things. כי אתם ידעתם, because you know, את אשר ישבנו בארץ מצרים, you remember that when you lived in the land of Egypt, ואת אשר עברנו בקרב הגויים, and when you passed through all of the nations אשר עברתם, which you were passing through, ותראו את שיקוציהם ואת גילוליהם, and you saw their shocking things and their perversions, eight for Evan, Kesef, Zahav, Asher, Imahem, that you saw. It's a list of things, and presumably it means idols made of gold and silver, and so on. Ish, O Isha, O Mishpacha, O Shevet, Asher Levavenu, Po Hayom Me'im Adonai Eloheinu Lalechet. And it then goes on to say, a man or a woman or a family or a tribe whose heart is turned away and goes away from Adonai Eloheinu, Lechet La'avod et Elohei HaGoyim Ha'hei. And he goes on to give various curses to those people who turn aside. So it's a strict warning. Those of you who are standing here around Sinai, this was actually right to the end when Moses had died. You're standing here, you'll listen, but be warned. You've already had these experiences living in Egypt and also wandering in the desert. And you've seen, perhaps what he's saying is, the more magnificent gods they have of gold and silver and all the rest of it. And it goes on to give a warning against that. And so we miss that bit out. But I think that's enough. We then carry on, of course, to that magnificent passage which is so vital to Yom Kippur about that you've got a choice. And in a way it fits in. It's saying you can follow God or you can follow other things, but you've got a choice. Choose life and not death. Choose the blessing and not the curse. And therefore, in a way, it all fits in. But as good liberals, we don't like to read all of these things about the terrible things that the other people do. But that's so in context, it all works out. And because there is a verse which I sometimes read, it comes right at the end of that. I'm not sure if you've got it on your sheet. It says, "V'hanigla ot lanu ulevanenu." And the hidden things, or the revealed things, are belong to us. No, it says, sorry. Anistarot ladonai Eloheinu. The hidden things belong to God and known by God. V'haniglaot lanu ulavanenu ad olam. But the revealed things revealed to us forever. La'asot et kol divrei haTorah hazot, so that we do all this Torah. And what's significant about that is that actually, anyone got good eyesight? You've all got glasses. You can see there are dots on them. You see the dots? It's one of those places in the Torah where you get a series of dots on top of the letters. And obviously this was something that someone was giving a talk or writing a Torah, this reminder that we shouldn't follow these other gods. And therefore, somehow or other, his mind wandered and he put the dots on the letters. This is something very important to remember. And of course, this scribe's student, seeing his master's Torah, think he must have something reasonably, and he copied it. And for almost 2,000 years, that copying's been going on. And so, even in this tiny little Torah, there are dots on the letters.
So all scrolls have those dots?
All scrolls, yeah, I mean, every scroll since ever that, whichever scribe put those in. And maybe his thought was, and again there's a sermon here, why are the things there? His thought is, this is something very important, that the hidden things belong to God. In other words, I think it meant all of those, God knows what people do in secret, but the revealed things are us, we should know what we're doing, because everybody knows what we're doing, even when it's on Zoom. And so, Kevin said he can do Habba with this one. And so, in front of the screen, okay.
Baruch.
Stephen done the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Do the blessing
Asher
now.
natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah. Amen.
Right, we do the right notes, but not in the right order.
And the Haftarah now. Blessing first. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha b'nvi'im tovim v'retzav v'divreihem hanemarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai aboher b'torah Moshe abdo v'Yisrael amo ובנביאי האמת בצדק.
And the Haftarah is again from Isaiah. It's the last of the 7 Haftarot of consolation after the Tisha B'Av, and it's somehow the part we're going to read. It's a reminder. It's full of hope as we approach the High Holy Days.
For Zion's sake I will not be silent, for Jerusalem's sake I will not be still, till her victory goes forth like a flame and her triumph is like a blazing torch. Nations shall see your deliverance, every ruler shall see your glory, and you shall be called by a new name, a name conferred by the Eternal. You shall be a crown of beauty in the hand of the Eternal, royal diadem in the palm of your God. No more shall you be called forsaken, no more shall your land be called abandoned. For your name shall be, my delight is in her, and your land shall be called married, because God delights in you, and your land shall be married. As a young man and woman marry, so will your Creator marry you. And as a bridegroom rejoices in his bride, so your God will rejoice in you. On your walls, O Jerusalem, I have placed sentries. They shall not be silent day or night. They shall announce the Eternal and never rest. But neither does God rest until Jerusalem is restored, until God makes Jerusalem the praise of all the earth. The Eternal swears with all the divine power and strength, never again shall I give you a new grain to be food for your enemies. Never shall strangers drink your new wine, which you have labored. But those who harvest it shall eat it and praise the Eternal. Those who gather it in shall drink it in my sacred courts. Pass through the gates. Clear a road for the people. Build up the highway, clear out the stones. Put an ensign above the peoples for all to see. Behold, the Eternal has proclaimed to the ends of the earth. Tell, fair Zion, your deliverance is coming, bringing divine reward and recompense from on high. They, Israel, shall be called the holy people, the redeemed of God, and you shall be called, sought out, a city not forsaken. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kol ha'amim tzadik b'kol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'oseh ha'medaber u'mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek על התורה, על העבודה, על הנביאים, על יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ותפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותה. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
I just say that was absolutely beautiful. That really was. It was. I've seen it on Zoom. It's the first time I've actually been live with you, and it really resonated.
Thank you. And as always, there's the odd verses in that Haftarah, and your grain shall not be given to another. Again, we're reminded of Ukraine. And always do it. And there's a word there in Hebrew about God will delight in you, and the Hebrew is Hetzibah. Whose name it comes from there. There's a number of things, if we had time to study it, there's a number of references there in the Hebrew.
Hopefully, Hepzibah's watching on the screen, maybe.
Yes, indeed.
Sometimes does. So
Hepzibah, if you're there, then we're remembering you today. And so we move on to the Lord prayers. I don't know who's in
on Zoom, yeah.
Zoom, yeah?
Eternal God, whose dominion. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you have the new one, Rania, with the king?
Sorry.
You have the one with the
Yeah,
king?
no. The king, no, but I will. Well,
I can screen share that if you like.
eternal. Sorry.
I can screen share that. Or Linda's doing it.
Okay, thank
Linda's doing it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can't see anything, Linda.
Still waiting.
There we go. Got it.
There we go. Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe. Oh, it's gone.
On again.
Sorry.
No.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our monarch, King Charles III, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country, and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Thank you, Rania. We don't actually have a volunteer for the community prayer. Don't it? Oh, Aoife. Oh, Alison. Sorry, beat you to it. Don't forget to unmute.
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us and heal those in anxiety or pain.
Keep going, Alison.
Oh, may we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the House of Israel throughout the world, Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to truth, to your truth, and to do your will.
Maria.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbors, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision, that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Kiniskav Shemol, Vado.
We're not going to parade the scrolls, Andrew, okay?
Misha Berach Avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Beleh. Who Yivarech et Hacholim. May the one who blessed their ancestors bring healing to all those who are sick. May the Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. Are there any names we wish to mention at this time?
Dennis Mitchell, Michael Jenkinson,
Brenda Hunt.
Misha Berach Avotenu ve'imotenu. May the Eternal One bless all those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body and the renewal of spirit. And let us say,
Amen.
behold, a good doctrine has been given to you, do not forsake it. It is the tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Thank you. I started to write this sermon 3 weeks ago because I knew that just before we'd be returning home from Canada and not sure what would happen, and so I wrote it before I went away. Well, I've added to it because Atem Netzavim, I didn't know. You're standing here today, but 3 weeks ago I didn't know where we'd be standing. Would we be standing in your new shul? In a Hindu school? Maybe on Zoom from my bedroom? But I never thought we'd be standing in a rugby club committee room with all the sounds of the rugby songs. But I must say, due to our brilliant singing today, we've drowned out all the rugby songs which perhaps might have been going on outside. And how could I know what would happen in the real world whilst I was away, something that demanded on this Shabbat a rabbinic comment. Too many times it seems that Sharon and I were away when world-shattering events happened back home. We were in Bratislava when the result of the Brexit referendum came through. We were in a monastery in Rome watching the funeral of Lady Diana, the Princess of Wales. And now we were in Canada as a new Prime Minister walked into number 10. And of course, and above all, we were forced to watch the immediate coverage of the Queen's death on a TV in a Canadian motel room. Fortunately, we were back to watch the incredible spectacle of deeply moving services for her funeral. Much of our nation and much of the world recognising that Queen Elizabeth II was a unique and much admired woman. Atem nitzavim hayom, you are standing here today, the day before Rosh Hashanah, and the new year starts with I suppose today is a last gasp at the old year. It's a bit like the setting for the Torah story, which is Moses' penultimate address to the people. It was his last attempt to sum up everything before handing over to Joshua, and the story of our people continuing anew, but this time in the Promised Land. But what lies ahead for us? As I began to write this sermon, I could see only doom ahead. Global warming bringing drought to Europe and devastating floods to Pakistan. And suddenly that's been dropped from the news. What's happened to those poor people in the last 3 weeks? Energy crisis about to take hold, full fuel poverty, food poverty, and actually, after yesterday's news, poverty for so many people seemingly increased. Food banks and heating refuges becoming the norm. And the war in Ukraine dragging on, dragging us all down. People dying, towns destroyed. Where will that source end? The day after tomorrow, we will read the shocking story of the Akedah. Adonai nisa et Abraham, and God tested Abraham. What a test it was. And annually rabbis try to explain it away, unless you're an old-style liberal Jew who refused to read the traditional parasha. How could God test his servant by ordering him to sacrifice his son? But it's not just modern liberal Jews who find this story puzzling, to say the least, because attempts have been made for millennia. And there are traditional rabbinic texts expanding the story by saying that Abraham, in fact, didn't just face this one test, but he faced 10 tests. For instance, it says in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 26, if you're going to look it up later, it says, Abraham, our patriarch, was tested with 10 trials, and he withstood them all. And God revealed before him that in the future his descendants would test the Holy One 10 times. But the cure precedes the sickness. Therefore God tested Abraham 10 times. In other words, Abraham withstood the tests, and therefore God learned from that, and we should learn from it. The first trial occurred when Abraham was born, and the high officer of Nimrod sought to kill him, but Abraham was hidden underground. Well, I could see a lengthy discussion if we were having a study session on why Nimrod, and also what was the 10. And just reading that underground reminds me that again in Ukraine people seek safety in cellars. But then I saw a modern midrash by Susanna Heschel, the biblical scholar's daughter. She's a biblical scholar, the daughter of the great 20th century thinker Abraham Joshua Heschel. And I recall meeting Susanna at that very conference in Rome. But she wrote, and I quote, My father used to say, show me a person who has got no problems, and I'll show you a fool. She continues, too many Jews today want to solve everything, find simple solutions and answers, as if all we have are simple questions, when actually we have profound and exciting problems. I like the struggle and the conflicts. I don't want to live in a fool's paradise. Well, yes and no. Surely we would all like to live in an age of tranquility, and in many ways our generation has never had it so good. But suddenly the problems in our country and in the world seem only to increase. The ancient rabbis had to invent trials faced by Abraham to get to the number 10. We don't need to invent problems. They seem to increase day by day if we watch the news headlines. But the purpose of the Midrash is to remind us that Abraham withstood the trials, and as Heschel says, confronted the problems and learned from them. Just think of the COVID pandemic. Yes, it was terrible, it claimed so many lives, and indeed so many still suffer from its after effects. But we learned a lot. For a brief time we saw that life could be like in a calmer world. We did get a glimpse of a world without cars and commuting. We did get a glimpse of a society that cared for one another. Hopefully the lesson will be extended to cope with this new energy emergency. And we learned how to make life-saving vaccines. Okay, you might say, whatever. We would prefer a fool's paradise. But the trial did test us, and we survived. As Abraham survived, as we, his descendants, will survive the trials we now face and will face in the coming year. Moses said in his final oration, words that we liberals reprise on Yom Kippur, as I said, by repeating this very sentence, V'charta l'chaim, choose life, for why would you die, O Israel? Choose life, be optimistic despite the gloom, despite the opposite, because the opposite will do no good at all. And the words I love so much at this time of year, the blessing and hope found in the poem by the late 16th century Kabbalist Avraham Chazal. You could find it on page 82 of our Master. He said, be strong and rejoice, for oppression will cease. May the year and its sorrows end now together. May the year and its blessings begin now together. And I wish you Shana Tova Malei Tikva, a good year filled with a blessing of hope. And on a parochial level, may the new year find you finally and firmly settled in your new building. Bimhei Ravi Yameinu, soon and in our days. Amen. I don't propose that we have a special theme, but I just thought I'd read one of the many meditations in the most incredible book written, anthology composed by Rabbi Charles Milber and Rabbi Andrew Goldstein, whoever he is. You never heard of it? Iron Holidays. But it's something that you can look up as well. It's that very famous passage we've quoted it in our Massal by Rabbi Jack Reamer. And as I look out of the window, despite the rugby club noise out there, I can look out and I can see the sun shining through the leaves outside. And it's a reminder that autumn is coming. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more towards the south. The animals are beginning to turn, storing their food for the winter. For leaves, birds and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong and that is never easy to do. It means losing faith. It means starting over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I'm sorry. It means recognizing that we have the ability to change. These things are terribly hard to do, but unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. God help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Turn us around, O God, and bring us back toward you. Revive our lives as at the beginning, and turn us towards each other, God, for in isolation there is no life. With that thought, I wish you all well in the coming days, the days of the High Holy Days, and as I said, I wish you Shana Tova. But now let's move to the Aleinu, page 520. And it has been said, the Eternal One shall rule over all the earth. On that day, the Eternal God shall be one, and know to be one. Creator of the universe, you give us life in which joys and sorrows are commingled in accordance with your wisdom. But you send death with its promise of eternal peace. Teach us to accept humbly and courageously whatever burden is laid upon us. Comfort those who mourn, and let the light of faith illumine the darkness of their soul with the hope of immortality. Strengthen us at all times with an unfailing trust in your promise. And on this Shabbat, on the occasion of the Yahrzeits, we make mention of the names of Sylvia Freiman, the mother of Francis Spiegel, and grandmother of Sarah Spiegel. Minnie Kasher, the mother of Derek Kasher. Jacqueline Rosen, the wife of Neil Rosen. Rose Solomons, the mother of Beryl Sontag. And we are sad to announce the death of our member, David Pearson. O God, grant consolation to those who in sorrow, light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name as we say, Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemeh Yamad Ibrahim V'Tev Nifma V'Tev V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayechon v'Yisrael V'agala v'zman karev v'ru Amen. Yehei Shemeh Rabba v'varach v'olam u'lamei alvaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitzavam v'yitnaseh Yitgada v'yitalev v'yitalal shebei kudshah v'rechu Ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tishbechata v'nechemata Daviran v'alva v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shabbat Rabba min Shemaya Chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Yosef Shalom v'yimru Hu yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol v'yadam v'yimru Amen. May great peace descend from heaven and abundant life be granted to us and all Israel and to all humanity. And let us say, Amen. You sit down. We're going to end with a Don Olam.
We do announcements.
Yeah, we'll have announcements as well. Here's the
Would you like to take a seat? I tell you what, I'm a bit lost for words, which is unlike me. I walked into this building full of stress on many levels, and especially obviously with the fact that plans have changed, like within half an hour notice of what's happening today. And now I'm going to walk out of this building feeling regenerated. So something's happened in this room that's completely turned round. A bad moment for me and a good moment, but I think it's just down to the fact what a wonderful service led by Andrew. Sit down. Speaking, but I think it was so about the service. That's that transition from one mode of thinking to another. So I really thank, on a personal level, Andrew for leading. What a wonderful service. And I think the word you used, perspective, that came into it during the sermon, especially the High Holy Days coming up. So that's really led us nicely into it. So thank you, Andrew. That really did move me, as I said before.
And our singers.
Yes, I'll never forget the singers. With Joseph on two, Joseph's a bit of an all-rounder. You are one director of music, but outside of actually kind of a little bit of a get out of jail card. I think you're the one, because I was delayed, I normally get out 10:30. You're the one obviously had to help set up the room and everything, and get the Zoom going as well, which I thought was mission impossible. And Lobo, I was actually sharing a sofa with you whilst you're singing. What an honour, and I hope my little background noises didn't put you off. They put Janet off, I know.
I said you can't carry the tune.
Yeah. And also Stephen, who was going to be here, but obviously he was worried about the Zoom, so I had to turn back home to do that, and Linda in the background with the Zoom connection. So, cool. I'm going to make announcements about future services. I'm a bit worried about how I'm actually going to turn up. We're just really in a state of flux at the moment. But one thing I am going to guarantee, we are booked here in the main room for the High Holy Days. As everyone's now panicking. I think one of the reasons why this slipped through the radar a little bit was because of all the constant contacts confirming times for the services over the High Holy Days, and I have had confirmation in writing that it is booked as announced in the newsletter. So it's 5. What's it? Adding your money to help me here. 5:30. We've got tea.
Tea and coffee at 5:30 tomorrow evening for those who wish to come.
6.
And the service actually starts at 6:30.
Yeah, and it will be in the main room, and then on the following day 10:30. 10:30, and you should have, those who can't make it, you should have, there was an email with all the Zoom links, so that should be fine. And next week we should be in the Scout Hut, and I can't remember if I see Anne or Rachel, but that will be it now. So I think I'm done for announcements. Anything to announce? Oh, well, Kiddish, so you've got, okay, those in this room, you've got a choice for Kiddish, wine and collar in there, beer and bacon sandwiches in there. It's your choice.
attention to the idols that
So for the final song, Stephen, can you screen share what I sent you?
Yeah, I think Linda's going to do it.
Yeah. So I'll just one more thing. We were meant to have birthday blessings today because we're a little bit behind. We'll do them birthday blessings next week rather. I'll pray for the and it's Mabel's 90 today.
Nope.
I don't know if my screen's going to work because I've completely frozen. I'll try.
I just sent them a song that I was going to screen share, which what I was to do the final song. If they can't find it, I won't do it. But if they can get the words up, then we. So this is the Yiddish song for Hoshana.
We got it, Linda.
And the key words you need to know: Hoshana Tova, a good year. Doing the same thing. Good year, 2, 3, 4. Wir vergessen heugen klar, ne Schonne Teuer ab gut Jahr. Wir vergessen heugen klar, ne Schonne Teuer ab gut Jahr. Wir vergessen und wir wünschen alle Kinder heugen klar, ne Schonne Teuer a good year, the Shonne Toive Tikos a good year, a good year, a good year, a good year, a good year. Des Mammes in ganzen Dorn, the Shonne Toive a good year. Des Mammes in ganzen Dorn, the Shonne Toive a good year. Des Mammes Schwester, Brüder, Freuden tragen dem ganzen Dorn, the Shonne Toive Kol Yisroel, a good year, a good year. The Shonne Toive Kol Yisroel, a good year, a good year, a good year, a good
Lovely. You got me and Show and booging a bit. That was very good.
We've got some degrees.
Yeah.
Shana Tava from us. We've got to go, I'm afraid.
We'll just wait.
Tova. Shana Tova, George and Mary.
Shana Tova, George.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, is everyone ready
Shabbat
to?
Shalom. Shana Tova.
And we're about to.
If you swipe it to the left, and you can see everyone. If you swipe the screen to the left, you can see everyone.
You trust me?
No, not really. Let's take a chance.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Hey, well done. Oh, no, technical whiz kid. Fine. Cool. And so you expect. Yeah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We're pulling.
There is a live bit, and then I'll put
Never mind, do it this way. It's nice and easy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep in contact with you so that I didn't sing the wrong places.
Somehow.
Lovely. When did you get this new boy who's not a new boy?
No, well, most of we've been on Zoom, haven't we? We only have. So.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, Shabbat Tov, everyone.
Shabbat Shabbat Tov.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen and Linda.
Thank you, Stephen and Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom and Shana Tova. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Right, don't know if you can hear me because I've completely frozen,
Yes.
but I'm going to go. Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
I can't see
Yes.
anything. But I'm going to leave now, if that's okay. So
So
Shabbat
thank
Shalom,
you, Linda.
everybody.
Thank you. We can see you.
That's
Linda.
okay.
Thank you, help.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye all.
Tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye. Shabbat shalom.
And then you have a great time. Andrew's always
Shabbat shalom, Janet. Can't hear me.
She can't.
Thanks, Joseph, if you can hear me. Thanks for doing that, Joseph. Well done. Thank
Shabbat
you.
shalom, Rania, Stephen,
It worked
George.
very well.
Take
Thank
care.
you for persevering with us. We did our best in
Yeah, no, you did
situation.
great. It was good. It worked well. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great.
Shabbat shalom all.
All right, I'm going to end it now.
Thank you.
Me too.